Never fails. All the pretty plants are always very far away, but I showed you some of the white flowers before, but there's this one with longer petals over there that it's not quite as easily seen, but it's a different type of flower. Oh, here are my orangey red flowers. I don't think they're quite in total bloom though. I don't know if they're totally happy. But these guys really caught my attention the last time I was here. And when they're at their best, I mean, it looks like little flames on a bush. Or, well, that's as close as a description I can think of. This is a vine that often kind of grows in our neighborhood. It's actually kind of annoying, but as kids, we used to like to cut open these little fruits, and they have these bright red seeds, and we used to chew on them. They kind of taste like watermelon, so they weren't poisonous. The birds liked them too. Now, if I wanted a good place to meditate by water, I'd probably choose this site. Not a lot of vegetation to look at, but I kind of like how the little waves are kind of going in very gently. So that's kind of nice, very soothing, and the water doesn't look quite as much like sewage, so that's another plus. We are nearing the area where the Perry's house once stood. Now, guys, is it my imagination, or does that look like a grave to you? Kind of looks like a grave to me, particularly in Key West. We saw a lot of structures that were like this. The thing about Florida is that, well, it depends on where you are. We're not actually that far above sea level. So a lot of times digging, one of the reasons why you'll never see huge skyscrapers in Florida like you see in New York is I believe skyscrapers need, you know, as tall as they are, they need a lot of you know, a good base that goes pretty deep into the ground. The problem with Florida is that we can't dig too deep before we run into water. And in some areas, you run into water pretty quickly. So, anyway, one of the things that we used to do, that the people used to do, is that they would build these, I don't know if you would call them a mastaba. Those were above ground. In Key West, they tended to be above ground. But they also had some that were in the ground, but they were covered by cement. They were probably only 2 or 3 feet deep, but they were covered by cement. And I have to admit, this looks like a coffin to me, but well, who knows? A most beautiful spot. That shows a picture of a Seminole dwelling. According to historians, it is possible that Snake Warriors people were settled on the island for about 13 years, fleeing when attacked by the U.S. military in 1841. An anonymous soldier's account provided the following description of the physical features of the island and of Snake Warriors' holdings. After passing up a few miles of a very swift rapids, we entered the Everglades at sunset, and skirting along a projecting elbow of the Pine Barren for 2 miles, lay concealed behind the point of it until it was quite dark. We then moved forward swiftly and noiselessly, at one time following the course of serpentine channels, opening out occasionally into beautiful lagoons, at another forcing our way through barriers of tall sawgrass. After several hours hard paddling, we came in sight of Cheeto's Island. Cheeto Tustenuggee, or Snake Warriors Island, is a most beautiful spot, containing from 18 to 20 anchors. The soil is extremely rich and 2 feet deep, lying on rotten limestone. The center is cleared, we got some junk on this, by the circumference is well protected by immense live oak and wild fig trees, and an almost impenetrable thicket of mangroves. Here are 2 towns, 2 dancing grounds, and 1 council lodge. With the exception of the dancing ground and a small patch of Cuba tobacco, the whole clearing is overrun with pumpkin, squash, and melon vines, and occasional lima beans in great luxuriance and of a most excellent quality. The Indians have gone at least 2 weeks and have left behind them all useless articles, such as war dance masks, supernumerary baskets, kettles, fishing spears, bows, etc. After it was reported that the inhabitants had left the island, the word was given the Indians have escaped. Okay, so this is all that remains left now of the house that was built by Mr. Perry. It's pretty much just the foundation. Why are there terrazzo floors here on this island's rich history? Yeah, and this is the house, I guess, that the Perrys lived in. I was imagining a wood house. A lot of houses were made of wood. Not very smart in Florida. Wood doesn't really stand a chance in Florida compared to all the termites and the rain and all the warping. But anyway, you are standing on the remains of a house built by the last owners to farm this land. In the late 1940s, the Perry family constructed 2 homes and a sprawling dairy farm here without knowledge of the site's historical and archaeological significance. The larger colonial-style home in the center of the island sustained severe termite damage, and was removed. The second, smaller house burned under unclear circumstances, and only the terrazzo floors you stand upon remain. Terrazzo usually has some nice little speckly finish on it, but I don't know if those were removed or they just, But anyway, today we invite you to sit and enjoy this place of rich history, an island once surrounded by the waters of Snake Creek and the Everglades, a Tequesta burial ground, and an important Seminole settlement, and more recently a dairy and citrus farm. And as I said, I might be butchering the poor Indian names, folks. It's very hard sometimes. I wish I could find... dictionaries don't always have the names of things. They'll have words, but not always the names of things. But I forgot to I had meant to look it up and see how the names are pronounced, and I forgot in my eagerness to get here today. The weather is kind of sometimes iffy. I didn't know if it was not going to rain, so I was kind of in a hurry. And in the background, you see, we have lots of pat towers. Now, I don't know what type of towers they are. I like to call them mind-controlled machines. We have so many of them. They surround everywhere, and they're found in almost every part, 2 or 3 of them. So, I like to sometimes call them mind-controlled machine. But I've not seen any indication that we're under mind control. Must buy Mars. 29 cents at Winn-Dixie. No. So yeah, no sign of being under mind control. And there's a banyan. I think that's a banyan tree. I'm not sure. All I know about those trees is that while they're neat, they're terrible for your plumbing. Most trees are bad for plumbing, but those trees in particular. And I think I'm going to rest and cool off here a spell, folks. If you're looking for a place to get some exercise, a lot of people do use this place for exercise. It's huge. So, I'm in usually good shape, but it is tiring. But I'm glad they have these trees to cool down. It's 60% humidity. It's not usually good. It can be dangerous for heat stroke when it gets that high. But I'm going to cool down here, and then I'll continue my tour. And